Good afternoon, YouTube. How is everybody doing? So it's there's 80 days until the 2019 SHSAT. Can you believe that? So it's coming up on everybody, and guys need to start pacing. So what I'm going to start doing is a few of these fireside chats here. So bring up a chair, pop in some marshmallows, and let's get cooking, people. So for this one, I'm just going to say hello and so on. But in the others, it would be nice if you guys could talk to each other. I know you guys probably have stories you want to swap each other and things you're curious about, including current alumni of the schools and so on and things like that. In any event, this 80 days, is that your fireplace? No. I should be so lucky. Plus, I'll be hot as hell. Yeah. It's time for you guys to start thinking about stuff. If you haven't thought about which specialized high school you want to go to, now is the time to do it, all right? I know some of this can still be wishy-washy, so I'm not saying, like, today you need to know what specialized high school you're going to, but I notice, especially like at the kindergarten level, but through all grades, parents have the kids take all these tests without really a serious intention of going to these schools, especially at the kindergarten level. I see so many parents. They took the G&T test, they give it the talent test, and the kid passed it. Now they're like, what do I do? What school do I go to? Which one's better? You kind of should have done your research already. It's the way I look at it. I mean, it's nice to know that your kid passed it and that they're intelligent and they can excel on a standardized test or something. So you want to kind of start stirring up your own pot now at this point, guys. Start trying to figure out, pick at least 3 of the schools you want to go to. And really try to start focusing on one. Go to the school's websites, figure out what they're about, talk to people, maybe your relatives or people on your block, or somebody like me who knows a lot of it, and start swapping stories and learning about the schools and the process. Also on your decision, I'm a big person on pragmatics, practicalities, and engineering compromises. And by that I mean, it's not enough just to get into the school. You have to decide things like, how long is my commute, right? When it's 2 foot of snow out, you need to decide something like that. No, you can't just go. There's tours of the school and stuff like that. You just can't show up. Sometimes if you're in a bigger middle school or more well-coordinated middle school, sometimes they will let you in middle school, the whole class. But you can't go onesie-onesie. It's like entering your current middle school or whatever. It gets too bogged down, so you just can't randomly do stuff like that. So you want to start figuring out is what school do you want to, figure out the pragmatics like the distance, what time you have to wake up in the morning. These schools are rigorous and hard, so there's often a lot of homework. So can you do that on a bus? Maybe not. Like my daughter had to stand up on the train. She went to Brooklyn Tech. I went to Brooklyn Tech. It was lots of journey. I could study because I lived in Rockaway at the time. So that at least on the bus, I could sit and read maybe my chemistry textbook or something. And this was at a time where you actually got textbooks. A lot of schools won't give kids textbooks anymore. No, it has to be an official. Yeah, if it's the class, it has to be an official one. But they will almost never do that. Okay, unless you're going to visit a special lab under special permission for a special reason or something. But otherwise, you have to go with whatever date they announce to the general public. That there's going to be an open house. By the way, places like Brooklyn Tech, they hold the whole high school fairs. So if you want to at least see what Brooklyn Tech looks like, you can go to the general high school fair and just see what the building's about. Maybe catch on to somebody who actually works at Tech and ask them and stuff like that. So there's ways around this. In any event, you also want to start looking at what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. Everybody knows at this point, or they should know, that there's this specialized high school test. Of course, there's the political debate and all this other stuff about whether the test should exist or not. But right now it exists. So if there's a test, you might as well do your best on it. So you have to figure out your strengths, your weaknesses, and especially where you can improve, figure out a strategy. Are you going to hire a tutor? Are you not going to hire a tutor? Are you going to do a mixture? Are you going to go to a tutoring center? Yada, yada, yada. No matter how you do it, you want to start doing that because At this point, if the test is the entrance, you want to do the best you can do. All right, and you want to start getting SHSAT centric. So these are the kind of things I want to talk about in these SHSAT. Okay, a SHSAT. And you need to also think about, when we get back to pragmatics, you're going to go to the school for 4 years. Okay, can you deal with the journey? Can you deal with all the homework? Can you deal with the other stuff? That's the kind of the negative side of it. The positive side of it is, are you going to be content in whatever school there is? A lot of people pick STI because it's supposed to be the best one of them. But is that good enough? Is that good enough? It doesn't mean you pick STI just because it's the best. I chose Brooklyn Tech at the time, and I would re-choose Brooklyn Tech again. Even knowing about Bronx Science and Stuyvesant, depending on how you consider they're ranked. I just loved Brooklyn Tech that much, and if I had to do it over, I would do it over. If I could go there again today, I would do it. I enjoyed it that much. All right? And you need to also consider stuff about the rigor, the grit, even the toughness of the school. Brooklyn Tech was a tough school. The kids were tough kids. All right? So if you want it, you have to figure out the persona, the personality of the school, things like that. Just not where it's located, and just not how to get there. Okay? And just the building, Brooklyn Tech was gigantic. It's like 10 stories when you add it up with the basement and the extra floor on the top and things like that. Can you deal with stuff? Some people don't like gigantic thing with 5,000 kids. Some would rather go to York with 100 kids, where it's kind of, quote, more private. That's not necessarily true, because you're still on the York College campus. So in any event, and at the end of the day, some of those kind of things, they don't get important after the first year or two and stuff. For instance, when I went to Brooklyn Tech, it was just this huge mega pack of kids, right? When my daughter went, the freshmen, they instituted something called clusters, which I believe still exists, because she only graduated recently, which is that you stay with the freshmen in your group for at least a year. And that was a wonderful experience for her, that she was with the same 30 kids in every class. I think for the first 2 years, if not mistaken, but surely the first year. So even though there was 4,960 other kids, the 30 kids in her cluster were all in the same classes. Okay? So there's issues like that. And if you have issues, for instance, my daughter had already taken 3 or 4 regencies in middle school by the time she got to tech. So she didn't have to take integrated algebra. She didn't have to take one of the science regents or the class associated with it. So she was with a bunch of kids with a slightly similar case to hers, whereas all the other freshmen had to take other classes. All right? So there's an underlying question here. Do you have what it takes to be in a specialized high school? Are you going to enjoy the rigor? I mean, I loved it. I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I'm a technophobe, and all these kind of things like that. Are you going to enjoy the science and the math and the technology, but also all the other things? Like English is not easy. Social studies is not easy. If you end up taking an AP class, it's not wishy-washy. Like my other daughter went to a different high school. I'm not even going to name it. She took AP chemistry. She took AP social studies, and I think a third one, I can't remember at the moment. And they were just fluff courses. So do you want to go to school with a really rigorous, super duper hard classes? All right. And remember too, I think it's important that the whole SHSAT process and the whole high school process and the whole entering specialized schools, even if you don't do a specialized school, just enjoy this. You're at a point in your life where this is the next phase of your life. You're going to most likely go to a New York City high school, any one, and pick one that you're going to be content and happy with. Brooklyn Tech worked for me. That doesn't mean Brooklyn Tech is going to work for you guys, right? So pick a school that matches you. Don't just pick a course that's, quote, the best school, okay? And there's also this kind of a negotiation that's going to have to happen within your family. Because a lot of parents was like, no, you're going to Stuyvesant. Well, you have to negotiate that with the fam, all right, and try to figure stuff out like that. Because if you're a smart kid, Stuyvesant probably is where you belong, okay? If you're super duper totally genius, I'm not a genius by any shake of the imagination. Hello, Alicia. But I was a hardworking, diligent guy. who loved technology. I was a tinker. I would take watches apart. I loved computers. I was a whiz in math. I could do all this math without even thinking. Ended college as a math major, got a computer science degree at the end of it, just because I love computer science that much. So that's somewhat about me, and you guys should be of that nature. Most of the specialized high schools are STEMish, right? You can say Lehman American Studies kind of isn't, and things like that. But at the end of the day, this is part of what the deal is. The majority of them are STEM schools. You need to be that kind of a person. And also, on the same note, remember the specialized high school is not the end of the world. If you don't get into one, there's a lot of other good high schools in New York City. There's a lot of bad ones too, but there's a lot of good ones. There's Eleanor Roosevelt, there's Townsend Harris, there's Beacon, there's Bard, there's Midwood, there's Millennium, there's Baccalaureate. There's just so many. I can't even have them on my fingertip. Now, some of them are screen schools where you have to sometimes take another test, and some of them. My brother, how you doing? I thought it was your daddy. So things like that. So you have to, just figure it out. All right, I'm going to go for 2 more minutes on the scope on this YouTube, because I'm going to actually do another one about how to cut off your time. There's a whole bunch of math concepts that I noticed everybody in YouTube, the people at the tutoring centers, just online venues, whatever the case may be, even in the books. You have 2 goals for the SHSAT. One is to get a good enough score to be the cutoff score, and the other is to actually finish the test. There's a lot of kids who don't finish the test at all. Okay, so that's part of what we're going to do with this next YouTube I'm going to do in a couple of minutes, is to show you a technique to cut your time down at least in half for doing LCM and GCF. And I'm probably going to do a bunch of other, I might even create a series on this about how to do other fast math, because I mentioned stuff like no hesitation math, number sense and stuff like that in a lot of my videos. And there's ways to, once you understand the math, you kind of don't need to do the painstaking version of it anymore. Again, I mentioned one yesterday. It was like, if I have 1, 2, 3 times 10, don't actually do the multiplication. Just add a 0 onto it. And it doesn't matter anymore, because you know what that means. All right? So there's a whole bunch of, at least a dozen kind of things. And there's more when it gets to the college level and so on. But certainly for kids trying to do the PSAT, the TACHS, the ISEE, the SSAT, even the high levels of the last 2, the ISEE and the SAT. But there's also just your regular tests that you're doing in school. Why waste 45 minutes doing homework when you can do it in half an hour? Stuff like that. All right, so that's kind of where we're going to end up here. So I might do these. I don't know how to do this. Maybe every Friday. And what I want is you guys to join in. I don't really want to be sitting around pontificating. I'd rather it be a true fireside chat where we're all sitting around. We pulled up our chairs and we're toasting our marshmallows. We're singing SHSAT songs, and we're just swapping stories about the specialized high schools somehow about it, so that we're learning. We're getting educated from each other about the whole process. All right, guys. Please like the video. Please subscribe. I have a ton of stuff. I have so many ideas. I can never get to them. You guys keep asking me stuff. You're emailing me. You're giving me requests and the live stuff. I'll never get to them all, but I'll get to a lot of them. All right? And so there we are. All right, people? And everybody have a great day. Is ACT necessary? You mean to take it? Or for review? By the way, reviewing the ACT is another mechanism to learn some of the SHSAT stuff. Anyway, if you mean to get into college, no, it's not. Neither of my daughters took the ACT. What you can normally do is, you can choose between the 2 of them. Normally what you want to do is the practice test, take a practice SAT. And by that I mean you can sometimes take an official one. Like when you guys are in, I think your 3rd year of high school, New York City will pay for you to take the SAT. Okay? And what you also want to do is, some places will let you take a full legit ACT. Right, so take it and compare your scores and figure out how you like it or not. The same is true, for instance, about kids taking the ISEE and the SSAT. They're both for entry into private elementary schools, but they're slightly different. So sometimes one is an advantage of another for a kid. For instance, one has that column A, column B thing, and the other doesn't. And another has vocabulary. One has vocabulary with analogies, and the other doesn't. So the SAT and the ACT is slightly different that way too. So what you really want to do is do it. And you also want to look at the college you want to go to. Some college might be really strong on the SAT and kind of never really mention the ACT. And you also want to decide whichever one you're taking, whether you're going to do the essay part of it or not. All right? And there's also now the SAT has themed subject matters. When I took the SAT, there was really only the English and the math part. Now you can take subject matter in the SAT itself. So things keep leapfrogging and changing, and you kind of have to keep up with it. By the time you get to college, they may change it again. In fact, with all the debate going on about the SHSAT, I don't know if you guys know, there's some of the similar debate going about the SAT and the ACT, about are they really important, do they really apply, what do they really mean, what are the significance of them, are they racially biased, are they statistically biased, or all these things. So and schools keep gyrating and manipulating how they use them. All right, so I'm going to end this. We're going to do this every so often. I'm not sure. I'd like to say something like every Friday or something, but I'm not sure. So let me end this so I can start the next one in a couple of minutes, because I actually don't know how long that's going to take, and I don't want it to bump heads with anybody else doing things and so on. I think it's going to be pretty rapid, but in any event, so we'll do these, and it's for you guys to answer each other's questions too. This is not just about me doing it, all right? All right, so peace out, and I'm going to do another tube in a few minutes. Bye.